So, for a couple of videos, we have been talking about Lexi Hull and obviously how her skill set is at the pro level and seems to be almost like one of a kind. If we're being real, like that kind of hustle, that kind of do it all, do the little things type of player it's something that should be easy. But there's kind of, when it comes to Lexi, the amount of charges she takes, the amount of time she just gets her hand on a ball, it is like, it's an uncanny ability. This is intangible. What Lexi Hull is completely intangible. Like, you're not going to recreate a Lexi Hull. But what if there is? What if there is? And look, I'm not saying this player is even a WNBA player, by the way. But I'm saying, do you take a punt on a third round pick on the chance that she is the next Lexi Hull? Because it's hard to find Lexi Hulls. And look, every team wants a Lexi Hull type player. Every team wants a player who can make a game-changing defensive play. Any team wants a player who's the ultimate glue guy. And no teams use their third round picks. One third round pick made a roster last year. JJQ. One. In the entire league, one. Third round picks. Ooh. No, Caitlin Chen made it eventually, but initially, one. And she had to beat out Madison Scott. She had to beat out like the 14th pick. So, third round picks don't make the roster. So, at the end of the day, this, I think, is not bad for a team to punt on. I don't think the Fever should, because Fever already have Lexi Hull. You don't need two Lexi Hulls. But if I'm like a Sky, like I think a Sky need a Lexi Hull type player. If I'm looking like a Sun when you've lost JC Sheldon, you can maybe need a player like that. If I'm the Aces, you won't have any money. You won't have any money. You just need a bunch of role players. I consider taking Kylie Feuerbach. I consider it. Like, I'm watching Iowa play, and they're way better with Feuerbach on the floor. And she does a lot of little things. But also, when you watch Kylie Feuerbach play, and you're watching Iowa play, you think to yourself, she is effing terrible. But then you look at every advanced stat, and she is one of the most important players for this team. When you look at big plays, they're made by her a lot. And if we look at teams, Iowa are probably going to go up to 6 or 7 in best teams in the nation. But if we look at teams at that level, and you look at the players that are like even putting up 5 points per game, they're all WNBA players that are like this important intangibly to these teams. They're all going to the league. Like, I'm not comparing her to Raven Johnson, but like, if Raven Johnson didn't come back for the 5th year, Raven Johnson would have been a 5 point per game, 32% shooting player that would have been a second round pick. And I don't think Feuerbach's there, because as you can see, she shoots 32% from the floor. But basketball's more than scoring. She had 8 points, 1 assist, 1 rebound, 9 assists. If you look at her stats in general, she played for Iowa State. She averaged 7 points per game last year. But like last year, she shot 30% from 3, 38% from the field. This year, that's way down. Shooting less shots, shooting less threes. And still, a 30% three-point shooter is bad. Don't get it twisted, it's bad. But it's not like incredibly bad. It's bad. It's absolutely bad. But when you've got a player who does all the little things and is going to be able to be a good defender, is going to be able to be a somewhat passable shooter, because there are spells where Feuerbach just hits shots. There are spells when she hits shots. Over the totality of the season, she's not going to be that great. But there are spells where she hits shots. But she's a big guard. Can't really play the one. And she is the most like-for-like player that I've seen that is Lexi Hull. Lexi Hull in the pros does what Feuerbach does in college. So that is obviously a big gap. There is a big gap, but you're watching Feuerbach play against an Ohio State team with multiple WNBA players and Jelani Cambridge and a bunch of other players, and she's looking like one of the best players on the floor. So if I'm a team that needs hustle players, I'd punt on, if she wants to be, I'd punt on a third round pick. Like, you're not going to bring them in anyway. Like, a third round pick's not going to make your team. For me, I would punt on a prospect, or I would stash, one or the other. I'm not pulling an Yvonne Egypt. I'm not drafting a 6'1" power forward who can't shoot. I'm not taking BPA in the effing third round, like what so many teams did, including the Fever. Why the Fever took BPA in the third round is beyond me. It is beyond me. They took best player available when the best player available had zero chance of making their team. Like, zero. They had one roster spot. They had 3 draft picks and Jaylen Brown for one roster spot. And they decided to use all the picks instead of stashing anyone. Just brain dead. Absolute brain dead from the Fever front office. Like, absolutely, like, idiotic. Like, they could have just, because they brought Gillia Lane in for training camp. They could have just went and said, okay, Annika Soltau, we're going to draft you. We're going to send you back to Europe. If you have a good season, cool, we lose you in the expansion draft, screw it. Instead of saying, no, we've got Yvonne Egypt. But yeah, I think this is an interesting one to talk about, because the more I'm watching Iowa, the more I'm like, I don't know if that game translates. She's somebody that her game could translate. And if nothing else, she could be like a situational defender, because you're seeing it with a lot of role players. They're trying to mold role players into, or stars in college into role players. And I'm like, you got someone who is a role player for a damn good team, who was a role player for a damn good team, so Caitlin Clark. And you're like, there's logic to taking her with a third round pick. What are the odds Kylie Feuerbach makes a WNBA? Low. But not zero. There was 0 on Yvonne Egypt. And there are so many teams that use third round picks on players who the odds of them making the league is 0. So for me, Feuerbach makes sense to punt on a third round pick, because those Lexi Hull archetypes do impact winning. They really impact winning. That archetype of player really impacts winning. And people are talking about, say, Raven Johnson in the first round because of her impact on winning. And I'm like, I don't disagree. I actually agree with that. I'm okay with taking Raven Johnson first round pick because of how she impacts winning. But on the opposite end, like, Feuerbach in round 3 has a 5% chance of making your team, which is more than most people you're going to get in round 3 anyway. So yeah, that's the video. I'll see you guys.